Alright, so we are asked to solve this problem here, this quadratic function, by completing the square. Alright, so what's the first step to solving by completing the square? One side of the equal sign should be x squared plus bx. The other side should be your constant, whatever number that is, right? So if we look at our equation, that 4 needs to move, right? We have x squared plus, or in this case, minus 12, and the minus bx plus 4. The 4 is the c. The 4 needs to move to the other side of the equal sign. So that's minus 4 on both sides. And we'll be left with x squared minus 12x is equal to negative 4. Alright, so now our a is 1, and our b is an even number. So perfect candidate for using completing the square. So how do we apply completing the square? We add b divided by 2 squared to each side of the equation to create a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so we're going to add, what is it, b divided by 2 squared. And what is b divided by 2 squared? Well, our b is negative 12. Okay, let's actually just leave it at 12. So not negative. So let's do b is 12. So we're gonna, yeah, that's right. Just leave it at 12. So we're gonna say 12 divided by 2 squared. That's 6 squared. That's 36. So I'm gonna need to add 36 to both sides of the equal sign. So I'm gonna add 36 plus 36, and I'm gonna get x squared minus 12x plus 36 is equal to 32. All right. Now, if we look at the right side of the equal sign here, we can see that it is a perfect square, right? And if you can't see it clearly, the first term's a perfect square, the last term's a perfect square, right? So our a is equal to x, and our b is equal to 6. And is the middle term equal to 2 times a times b? 2 times x is 2x, times 6 is 12x, right? So yes, it is. Right? But in this case, we have a minus sign here. So when we complete the square, it's going to be a and b, right? But there's going to be a minus there, squared, right? If there's a minus sign here, if it's a perfect square trinomial and there's a minus sign here, it's going to be a minus sign there, right? If it's a perfect square trinomial and there's a plus sign here, then there's going to be a plus sign right there, right? All right, so we factored the left side of the equal sign. And we're going to say it's equal to 32. Alright, so now how do we solve? Well, we need to take the square root of both sides of the equal sign. Notice that under the square root on the left side of the equal sign, we have x minus 6 times x minus 6. So we have two factors of x minus 6 under the square root. So we can go ahead and pull out the x minus 6 from the square root, right? And that's going to equal to square root of 32. And I don't think that's a whole number, so maybe we can reduce that to a fraction. But let's go ahead and complete the problem here. So we're going to solve for x, we're going to add 6 to both sides. So we get x is equal to 6 plus the square root of 32. And now let's go ahead and reduce this square root, make it a little bit more manageable. So how do we do that? Well, let's go ahead and come here to the side. So square root of 32 is equal to the square root of 2. So 32 divided by 2 is 16. Times another factor would be 2. That means 16 divided by 2 is 8. And then 8 divided by 2 is 4. Divided by 2 is 2 times 2. So let's go ahead and double check our answers. It's going to be 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, 16, 32. All right. So how do we pull out numbers from underneath the square root jail? Well, we need pairs of them. So there's another pair there. So we can pull out 2 times 2. We could pull out 4. So this is going to equal to 4 square root 2. Right. So let's go ahead and use that instead of our square root 32. Let's say x is equal to 6 plus 4 square root 2 as our answer. So I'm going to put that here. X is equal to 6 plus 4 square root 2.